Conversate for a few.
Welcome to the next episode of Conversate for a Few. I'm Jonna.
I'm Alan. This is not a podcast about classical music.
Absolutely is not. This is a podcast about hip hop. What we doing today, bruh?
We talking hip hop in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay. All right. I mean, this is about like a Grammy conversation, ain't it?
It is it is because just like for who gets inducted, just like they have a committee who votes who gets the Grammy.
Yeah. And I imagine that neither one of those committees are a true representation of either culture, like rock culture or hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Or any other genre. You know what I'm saying? Not enough to be voting on the greats of any specific genre to get into a Hall of Fame or to actually earn a Grammy. So I think that's like, who are these people? I do know that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, this year, I don't know if they do it every year, but this year they opened it up so that the public can vote. I think you know what I'm saying, you can vote until, what is it, April 30th, as a matter of fact. It's my mom's birthday. You can vote till April 30th. You know what I mean? I didn't look at the particulars and all that good stuff, but
Yeah.
So what were your feelings, man? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the only person that I know that was on the committee or had been on the committee in the past is Kurt Lauder.
From MTV.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to be.
I don't know it now how deep he was, but he used to be the editor at Rolling Stone too in the 80s.
Okay.
The editor for the magazine.
Okay. So yeah, you got to be of a certain age to hear the name and be able to put a face and know where he's from.
Right, that's funny you said MTV. Yeah.
Yeah, he's early MTV, like early for me anyway. You know what I'm saying? Kurt Loder, he used to do kind of like the news or whatever on MTV in the afternoons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's a voter for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, he stepped down from the position, but all the years past, he has. I think he stepped down in like 2 years ago. I think it is something like that.
Okay. All right. I mean, and that's to say, I know like Ad2. He's a activist. I would say an activist and a MC, an artist out of Chicago that my man Jada Arrington put me onto. Actually, Jada produced several of the tracks on his last albums. Banging. Actually, it's a masterpiece. I ain't even gonna front. I was gonna say it's a masterpiece. You know what I mean? Jada's work on there and Arrington's work. I mean, and Ad2's work combined with it is definitely a masterpiece. But I think he's got voting rights for the Grammys. So that's not to say that everybody that's involved doesn't have the say or doesn't have the qualifications to make that vote. But I think as a unit, I don't know if they have enough voices to properly assess what's going on in this culture or in a lot of cultures and decide that these people need to be in and these people don't. You know what I mean? But that's,
Right. For sure.
I don't know, but so what were your thoughts when you saw this list this year?
I definitely don't think that those committees made up with enough of the people from the culture, whether it be rock and roll or hip hop. But and that's kind of the problem. That's why every year, generally, people are upset about about who gets the Grammys.
Right.
Right. Because it'd be so far off from it being reflective of what the actual people in those particular communities think.
Right.
About who should get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how did you feel when you saw the list this year? Like, did you think anything, or did you, were you surprised, or were, like, your initial thoughts?
No, I was happy because it was Jay-Z name. Uh, and to be honest, that's all I focused on.
Yeah,
Like, cause I think he deserve it.
yeah.
You know, and to be honest, I thought about. I'm always comparing and contrasting. So I thought about the rappers that are already in there, and
Mm.
then I thought of his name. Like, I don't know why he's not already in there. Pac, like every rapper that's in there already, I think they all deserve to be there, right?
Yeah,
Because they had huge impacts. When I think of someone they had huge impacts, right, and caused major shifts in the music. Um, so, I think Jay should have been there probably 3 albums ago, 4 albums ago.
yeah. It's funny because I agree he probably should have been in there. Uh, I took a look at the, saying, and research for this, right? I'm just
Yeah.
gonna read a quick statement.
Okay.
Quick statement straight from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame site. To be eligible for
Mm-hmm.
nomination, an individual artist or band must have released its first commercial recording at least 25 years prior to the year of nomination. 7 out of the 16 nominees are on the ballot for the first time. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's 16 people on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
7 on there for the first time. That's Foo Fighters, The Go-Go's, Iron Maiden, Jay-Z, Mary J. Blige, Fela Kuti, Dionne Ward, and Shaka Khan.
Dude.
Right? Shaka Khan, who's
Mm-hmm.
actually already in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But she was in for Shaka Khan and Rufus. Just like Tina Turner is already
Yeah,
in.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Background Rufus, yeah.
Yeah, Tina Turner's already in, but she got nominated this year as a solo artist. But she's already in the Hall
Right.
of Fame, right?
Right.
But on that list is LL Cool J, who got nominated this year alongside Jay-Z and Mary J. Blige.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not listed as one of the ones that's first time nominated. So obviously LL was nominated before and didn't get in.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there speaks to what we were talking about. There's no way there's a committee sitting somewhere that understands anything about hip hop and got a list with LL's name on it and didn't put LL in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's insane.
That's insane. Nobody no one in the hip hop community would agree with that decision to not allow him in. That's insane.
Even Kubo D would say let LL in.
Right. Even Cool Mo D would say let him in.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a word.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, so when I asked, what were your initial thoughts? I think my initial thoughts, I was happy Jay was nominated. I thought it was insane that it was his first, like it's just happening.
Right.
It-
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's insane that LL was nominated and didn't get in before. I also think it's not to knock Missy, but Missy's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
How did Missy get in
Now,
before
as a
Jay-Z?
solo artist, she's in there as a solo artist.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know
Okay.
how else she would be in there.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think she should probably end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I agree with Missy being in there, but
Yeah.
Missy being in before Jay-Z or Mary J. Blige either.
Yeah. I don't see. This is where it started to look weird. How does the Queen of Hip Hop not get? How does the Queen of Hip Hop not get in before Missy? I don't get that.
I mean,
Mary J. Blige, 411. Mary J. Blige, what?
but this is the thing. So, what are they
What are they looking for? That's what we need to get to.
what are they gauging it on? Like, what is it?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, what is the criteria? Because the thing I just read was from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they said the criteria was to have your first song be released 25 years prior to nomination. If that's it,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If that's it, then everybody
Right.
qualifies for nomination.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, how do they decide? I just don't know. Like, who's nominating people? Like, where's it all coming from? That's the thing I don't really know, and I'd like to get to the bottom of that a little more, and that might help us understand how somebody like Missy got in, who we agreed deserves to be there. But if Missy deserves to be there, then Mary J. Blige and Jay-Z and Nas and LL Cool J probably deserve to be there
Without
twice.
question. Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Without question.
Yeah, so go ahead.
But no, this is something, and this is from an article called from a website, Future Rock Legends. But when Kurt Loder, he made a statement.
Okay.
He said, what exactly is rock and roll? Having spent many years as a member of the Hall of Fame nominating committee, I can tell you that endless hours have been devoted to this question, and it has never been definitively answered. Some critics, most notably the English writer Charlie Gillett, in his groundbreaking 1970 book, The Sound of the City, have argued that rock and roll is, if not dead, at least historically complete and now a part of the past.
Wow.
Now I say that because I did see on that site where certain people were saying, and the reason why he's bringing that up because people were being sticklers about what is rock and roll. Like, oh, these rappers aren't rock and roll, right?
Right.
Some people was making that the argument, but the reality of it is we know hip hop is the greatest hack ever and contains every genre. And the reality of it is we know who originated all of these genres.
There we go. That's the answer right there.
Right. And so, and I'm saying this like many people have said about sampling, like I would never have a respect for Nina Simone if you were not sampling. You know what I mean? And not saying you specific, but producers. Like, the reason their music still live is because it's being brought from the past into the future under a new genre. So I'm just highlighting the point that from the quote about rock and roll, at least in its original form, being dead, the people that's making it live should be in the Hall of Fame.
That's an absolutely amazing point, bro. Right. If what he's saying is true, right?
Right.
That rock and roll in its most mature form, in its growth, like it went through every stage of growth, and in its most mature form now has died. The one genre that's keeping it alive is hip hop.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you should definitely be putting your hip hop artists into the Hall of Fame of rock and roll.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot. I wouldn't know Vanilla Fudge if it wasn't for hip hop. I wouldn't know 10cc if it wasn't for hip hop. You know what I'm saying? These is legendary rock groups that a lot of people don't even know about. You know what I mean? Like, that joint that Kanye sampled for Ghost Town. You feel me? We sitting in the room with David Vonnedo, and he knows who it is right off the bat, and it's a legendary rock song, and we never heard it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we bringing these things to life, so if they can't respect that, their whole perspective is whack. You know what I mean? It's just like that. So now, it's funny you bring all of that up, because in our Facebook group, I posted the article about Jay-Z being nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I asked the audience, of course, what do y'all think we talking about next? And we got mad comments in there, and our number one fan, Frederick Howe, right?
The leader of the
Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah. So maybe you didn't know, but there is a queen of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, word?
Yeah, his wife. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, besides him, I think she's probably the person that's listened to as
Every
many or
episode.
more episodes than we have. You know what I'm saying? She
Oh,
might not hear them all,
yeah.
but he did let me know, you know what I'm saying, a long time ago, when it's something that he knows she's gonna dig, they you know what I'm saying, he'll hold off and they listen together. You know what I'm saying? So I know she's heard mad episodes. And she chimed in. Her name is Zanetta Howe. You know what I'm saying? What's up, sis? You know what I'm saying? What's up? Appreciate you. Love you. You already know. Oh, matter of fact, they got a dope ass comedy site, like a comedy platform called How Will Be Thy Name. Yeah, shit's hilarious, and it's blowing up. I'm talking about it was on World Star like last week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Is about 3 weeks ago is when I forgot how I ended up even seeing them. But yeah,
so
I
you
saw them
stumbled
work.
on it, huh?
Stumbled on it, yeah.
Yeah, so Futane Clan out there blowing up. You know what I mean? Appreciate y'all for tuning in and giving us the feedback. You know what I'm saying? The inspiration to keep pushing this thing. And congratulations to what y'all got going on. And salute How Be Thy Name. You know what I'm saying? Yo, y'all go follow How Be Thy Name too. The thing fire. You know what I'm saying? That thing fire. But one of her statements was something to the effect of, does Mary J. Blige and Jay-Z even belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I was listening to Joe Budden, and they were like, we need our own hip-hop Hall of Fame. We need our own thing. You see what I'm saying? And I understand that. So it was almost, they were kind of making a similar statement. It's like, do they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And I responded... Okay. So hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. I responded to Zanetta, and I was like, I was glad she asked that question, because I felt like it was an age thing, right? You know what I'm saying? Because she's younger, so I felt like it might be a demographic thing. So I was glad that somebody from a different demographic gave their perspective. You see what I'm saying? Because I could understand a lot of people seeing it that way, but I think I thought maybe an older demographic might be like, well, hell, we started this whole shit anyway, so why wouldn't we be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? But then I go hear somebody that's in my age demographic like Joe Budden make a similar argument. Now Zanetta wasn't necessarily making that argument, that was just part of her statement. You see what I'm saying?
Right, I got you.
Now Joe Budden was making that argument, not just as part of his statement. He was kind of making that argument, we should just have our own, and that's cool. But in thinking about all of this, if we know, right, that rock and roll, blues, well, rock and roll is a derivative of blues. Blues is a derivative of gospel music and songs that were sung by slaves. Right? That's just, am I wrong in any of that?
Yeah, no, slave hymns,
slave hymns, then gospel, then blues, then rock and roll, right? Then once rock and roll came, white folks got hold of it and they turned it into rock and roll, rock music. You know what I'm saying? Rockabilly, country rock. You know what I'm saying? Alt rock, heavy metal, all types of things. You see what I'm saying? But the originators of it were black people, and they wouldn't let us sing it to white audiences, right?
Right.
So if we change the name of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to the Hall of Fame of people that originated the music. You see what I'm saying? Funny. If we change the name of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you see what I'm saying? To the Hall of Fame of people, you see what I'm saying, dedicated to the people that originated American music, then almost every black artist you know and love would deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Right. They would be in that Hall of Fame. So by proxy, they automatically need to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a given. It's a given. But we so far removed from ownership. You see what I'm saying, of what it is that we created, or you see what I'm saying, mastery of what it is that we created, that when we enter into a Hall of Fame with the namesake of our creation, we seem out of place.
Right.
That's absolutely nuts. And the same thing is gonna happen to hip hop. If we don't do it without conversations like this, the same thing will happen to hip hop.
Right. Right. Now, for is it Anita?
Zanetta.
Zanetta. Yeah, so I can understand just that part of her statement. Not that she was arguing the case like Joe Budden. So I understand that. And let me say, obviously, we agree, right?
Mm-hmm.
We should have quote unquote, I'm gonna say quote, our own. Like
Right.
it, but see, but here's the problem. Even if we had our own, whatever they have, we belong in that too.
Exactly.
We originated.
Exactly.
So that's the point. And see, and at the same time, and we got to be careful to not unconsciously double talk. Like, and that's what I feel like Joe Budden kind of do. Because at the same time, Kendrick winning a Grammy, or this person win a Grammy from hip hop or R&B, you'll big them up and take 30 minutes bigging them up,
right?
Knowing that we didn't structure that, we're not on that voting committee,
right?
And you'll say, "Oh, that's great, that person is up, they winning, blah blah blah." So let's not try to now be so technical when we talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because yeah, we should be in there.
Yeah.
Even we know, just like with the Grammys and everything else, we know we didn't set it up. Most of the people on the committees aren't actually people from our communities doing the voting. But should our artists be in there for their artistry? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And yes, we should have established, in not even our own, but we should be represented on, yeah, we should have our own, but even if not, all these committees, we should be properly represented in proportionate ratio to vote on what needs to be in there. Basically, we should be the gatekeepers on all of this, however it go. Because in totality, the reality of it is just all variations of black music that other people came and joined in and added, their talent and their input. So that's not to cut short whatever the Asian people offered, whatever the whites came and offered. See, it can still be inclusive, but it still got to respect the original creators, and the ones who created it should be the ultimate gatekeepers of all of this on all the fronts.
That's true. And you know what's funny though is when you watch documentaries or listen to interviews of the legendary rockers, they do respect it. They do know the history. They do know where they got it from. They do say it. You see what I'm saying? Right. It's the business music. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That presents a different face. That presents that presents it differently than the heart of the artists themselves.
Right. Right. And which is so funny because that's always the problem. Those people, the people that are presenting it, the business music that's presenting it, those aren't creators.
That's right. They ain't creators.
That's the whole problem. Like
they're not
creators.
They're gonna present what they think can bring the most dollar.
Exactly.
And they know that if it's a majority white dollar out there, then if they could put a face on a thing that the engine being black culture, and they could put a face on it that's white, they know they could sell that better than putting a face on it that's black.
Right.
And I mean this conversation, and I mean you could take that one thing I said and extrapolate that all the way out to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that right there tells you why the list will have, of 16 people, it'll have, and they say this is the one, they touting the diversity of this list. I mean, and I imagine it is diverse. I'm going to read it all. Mary J. Blige, Kate Bush, Devo, Foo Fighters, The Go-Go's, Iron Maiden, Jay-Z, Shaka Khan, Carole King, Fela Kuti, LL Cool J, New York Dolls, Rage Against the Machine, Todd Rundgren, Tina Turner, Dionne Warwick. I mean, it is diverse this year. It is diverse this year. But I done seen this thing several years. I mean, and it's a big deal when a black person walk across that stage. And it's a big deal because they mentioned the diversity of that list. You understand?
Yeah.
That the mentioning of something lets you know that it's probably been added. It's like a commercial. You get, you know what I'm saying? You get extra white clothes with this tide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it wasn't there before. So this is an extra diversity list because it wasn't there before. I mean, but we, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at the Grammys. I'm not mad at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
You know what's funny though is you can't be like you said, you can't speak from both sides of your mouth, right? You can't be mad at the establishments themselves and then be proud as hell if you win one or get entered into it. You know what I'm saying? But what I can be mad at is the system that you have to play into to be rewarded by people that shouldn't have the power to reward you.
Right. Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? I can be mad at the entire system. Like the system ain't right. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And the system is set up to do the same thing to hip hop, like I said before, as was done to rock. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you. Do you? We've had this conversation before, but do you think it's possible that they take hip hop and run off with it the way they did rock and roll?
Yes. So I would say yes, because historically speaking, when we look, they've done that with everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, so the plausibility of it happening is very high, and I think they can do it. And I think they are trying to do it. And one of the biggest examples is the person that you brought to my knowledge, I think maybe 2 years ago now, NF, and how he was, I think, had the #1 album 3 times. We didn't even know who he was. I didn't.
Yeah, me neither. That's true.
But then you find out, it's weird because you find out to, like, let's say when people think hip hop rap, for the most part, they imagine right now, you're going to imagine, a few people that's popping, and mostly all black artists, right?
Right.
Whoever you mentioned, King Von, Lil Durk, all these people, right? So what's crazy is there is actually a whole subculture of white artists doing the exact same thing of any black artist that you can point out to me. There is a white artist doing it. They have their own white following of millions.
Yeah.
Which is, and they can damn near have their own award shows without us.
You know, wow. You right though, and that is.
Post Malone is a great example, just to throw one out there.
Yeah, for sure. Post is a great example. Jake Paul is a great example. NF is a great example. So I totally I see what you're saying. Like, there's, especially the way the industry is now, and the way, for lack of a better word, to say communication is now. You know what I mean? They could have a whole, and when I say, and let's be clear when we say they, because when we say they, when black people say they, it could literally be taken as white people.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think we were clear enough. And I ain't trying to be, you know what I'm saying, politically correct. I just don't want to be, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be misconstrued as being saying something that we're not saying. Right. Yeah, I want to be misrepresented. So the they I'm talking about is the industry. And the industry would prefer a white face on things.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So the they that will benefit are white people. You know what I'm saying? And the they that will be robbed is the same people that would always rob is black people. You know what I mean? But it's not, like we spoke about before, I don't think it's white hip hoppers that are stealing anything.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Like white hip hoppers care about hip hop as much as I do.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
people in the industry that are taking advantage of hip hop
This
and whitewashing it, the business music could care less about hip hop,
right.
and they will move to whitewash this thing and sell it, and
And so mhm.
and they right now can set up an entire hip hop right alongside of hip hop. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And market it in a way, because marketing is, you can market things in a way that it just doesn't come to me.
Right. Exactly. Literally now.
Literally,
On
it just
that's
doesn't come to me. So there's
yeah,
a
it's
there's a hip hop right beside hip hop that's getting just as many views, it's not, if not more.
that's what I'm saying.
I know that's
I
what you're saying.
came up in my feed. J. Paul
Exactly.
was coming up in my feed, and that didn't want coming up in my feed.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? On
Exactly.
YouTube. Now we're gonna find a way just to market, literally cut out the blacks, and this is gonna go to
Yeah.
the white side look, right?
Yeah.
On paper. And so, but now here's the thing. Anytime you don't originate something, and I'm talking about an art form, but anything, and then I ain't gonna say you invited in, but you're accepted in.
Sure.
Like it and you join in and your expression is accepted and stuff like that, then you have a duty and a responsibility now.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to. We have responsibility, obviously, but those artists, because it ain't because the white hip hopper love hip hop as much as we do. We
Right.
know that.
Right.
We've been to shows was right beside Long. They love Illmatic just like we do
That's a
and know
fact.
every word, right? God, men and women. So it's not them, but it's the business people. So what I'm saying is the business people that making the calls, making the moves, the artists have to have enough integrity. What I'm saying is they have to be consciously aware enough
Mm.
to not be used as a pawn to whitewash a genre of music that they came into that they said they have love for,
This
right?
is true.
Because if they're not consciously aware of it, they'll be used as pawns because they're really not ultimately the one making the calls and pulling the strings.
Right. And this is a perfect time to be used as a pawn, because there's bags being offered, and
Hmm.
the genre itself is being watered down by attention seekers versus true artists.
Right.
You know, so that right there is the key. If excuse me, if the audience is willing to accept attention seekers as willingly as they are artists, then it's gonna be super easy for this thing to be taken. But if the audience, completely just disapproves of the, you know what I mean,
Right.
of the
Yeah.
inauthentic being presented as art, then we won't have a problem. But
Yeah.
we already know how that go. Programming is a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Programming is a motherfucker. So we already know how that go. It's gonna
Yeah.
get programmed. They're gonna listen to it.
Hmm.
You know.
The good thing is, what I will say is, I do see, although I'm critical of a lot of them, because some of them I feel like aren't too informative. I don't get a lot of substance from it.
Right.
But I will say it is good that you have a million podcasts now.
True. True.
Particularly hip hop's number one leading voice, Conversate for a Few,
Big facts.
and the Conversate for a Few awards, the fews that we hand out. So I'm happy for shows like ours, um, Talib Kweli's People's Party,
Yeah.
Nori Drink Champs,
Yada mean.
yeah, Yadameen, the Godcast,
Yeah.
uh, Lord Jamal, and Joe Buttons too. Um, uh, just because at times he does shed light on certain things in the industry
Yeah.
and artistry that needs light shedding on. And his podcast, his platform at this time is big enough
Yeah.
to affect enough people, right?
Yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is, I feel like all the ones I just mentioned, we are the one. We don't have quote unquote our own award show. that's big as the Grammys or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but like we make known information. We're making known and presenting really true architects of this whole hip hop thing so that people know.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I was very happy when this is a semi side note, but I was happy when Tragedy Gaddafi was on Nori, because you know Nori, because this podcast has got a big platform, Revolt and all of that stuff like that, and his solo career ended up being more successful than the person who really
put him on. Yeah, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? Help them blow up and help them make a first classic group album. Tragedy Gaddafi. So I mean, I think that stuff is good. So like, someone was looking at Nori, some younger people was looking at Nori, and now they know who Tragedy Gaddafi is. So things like that, I feel like it keeps the history, the continuity of the history intact moving forward, and not getting lost, because we fighting an uphill battle against those that are trying to essentially hijack the genre and morph it into something else.
Right. You know what's funny is you bringing that up on Drink Champs and how important it was for Tragedy to be on there, right? Yeah. Something that happened on this podcast, I think, is similarly of importance, right? Is of similar importance. When we had Mez on, and we didn't bring Mez on for an interview, we brought Mez on for a conversation. You know what I'm saying? And we sat and talked, and we ended up turning Mez on to Jeru the Damager, who he didn't know anything about.
Yeah, it's crazy. But then when he heard him, he understood exactly the points we were making about him.
Like that, to be able to make connections like that. You see what I'm saying? Like that's why shows like this are important. And not that every time we sit down and talk, we talking to somebody that, you know what I'm saying, that's gonna be a legend in hip hop or something. That's not what it is about. But it is about genuine conversations that mean something. You see what I'm saying? So if somebody catch this conversation 10 years down the line and they have done more to whitewash hip hop, you see what I'm saying? And somebody would be like, hold on, yo. We probably, if they don't know, to be looking at it crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Imagine that, right? Because the way information travels and the way things move and the way things change now, 10 years is a lot of time. You know what I mean? So 10 years from now, they got it halfway whitewashed. You see what I'm saying? Where 70% of the hot artists you see are white and 30 are black. Imagine. You see what I'm saying? Where it's still a black genre necessary. You see what I'm saying? But it's not. You know what I mean? Imagine that. Huh? I
like that.
I don't like that, but imagine it. But imagine it though, right? And the kids stumble across this podcast, and we all talk about hip hop being black, and that it might get taken one day, and that they took rock and roll. And he like, hold on, man, these niggas is talking crazy. And we like, no, sir, we're not talking crazy. It actually happened. Google it. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking to the future right now. You see what I'm saying? Like, actually, it did happen. Like, rock and roll was created by black people. If you even remember rock and roll. Because during our era, they're telling us it died. And something else that you said during this conversation. I thought you was going to say this, but it led me to think it. If you join something, if you're allowed to join something, and for whatever reason, it becomes yours, and you don't pay homage to where you got it from, and you don't nurture where you got it from, which is that soil, it will die. Yeah. Rock and roll is dead.
That's a good point. Good point.
You understand what I'm saying? It's dead. The only people keeping it alive are the people that invented it in the first place. The soil. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So if they run and snatch this and try to plant it in some soil that is unkind and don't nurture it, it's going to die. So have at it. It ain't gonna be no good to you anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? It ain't gonna be no good to you anyway. Yeah. It's just like if you kidnap me you ain't got shit, cause I'm gonna be foul. When every time you come in the room looking for me, I'm gonna be covered in dookie. Like, I'm gonna be like, you ain't gonna want me. You gonna take me back. So if you kidnap me, you ain't got shit. If you take hip hop from us, it's gonna die. So
yeah,
we've given it instruction to die.
right. That's true.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Self-destruct. Yeah.
self-destruct.
Got a timer on it.
You
Yeah.
headed for it.
Now
You know
that's
what I
a
mean?
fact. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point that gives me hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's just true.
Would they, because they still going to attempt to do it, but it ain't going to last. But you know, the business music people know that. See, everyone is looking to make quick profits.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so
why they're gonna do it, because they don't care about the longevity of it. You know what else they know?
Which means that means the white artists are getting used two ways then, because
That's right.
Whitewashing and trying attempt to whitewash, and you're going to get used up. You're going to die. Like, you know, what I mean, the wave that you on ain't going to last.
Right. What they're gonna be getting treated. They're gonna be getting treated like white America's getting treated. Actually,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Getting sold a bill of goods when they're not gonna be getting treated any better than the people that they're getting sold a bill of goods that they're better than.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't fall for it if you're an artist. Don't let them prop you up and let you and treat you like you're from outside of the culture. Like, that ain't what it's about. They gonna, like, your career gonna die and the genre gonna die right behind you. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, you know what's funny is a conversation about hip hop and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame became a manifesto to the business music.
I know. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, run off with the plug if you want to, bruh. It ain't gonna last.
Yeah, you want. Yeah.
But you know what you know what though? If they, I'm gonna say it because it ain't like they don't know it, right? Because they can see history just like I can.
Right.
They know we're gonna create something else. You know what I mean? Huh? They know we're gonna create something else. Like, if you could look at history, then it's obvious that
Then it's clear
that we're gonna create something else. It's what we do. So they don't. Do they have to care if this one dies? If they know they're gonna milk it for everything it's worth, and we're gonna create another one anyway. And the system is in place so that when we do create another one, it's got to run through that system, and they're gonna rinse that one too.
Yeah. So I'll say no. They don't have to care.
Yeah.
You know, but what is crazy is the difference with this is hip hop, particularly rap, is just a super anomaly. Nothing has bridged all the gaps between all of the genres like this genre has.
Nah, nothing.
So it's one, yeah, like them running off with it, it would eventually die. But I don't even know if they can do it in its full totality. Because when you look at what they're going to run off with, they're going to run off with, but think about this, they're going to run off with the easiest expression of the genre. Right? They're going to run off with the they're going to run off with the McDonald's.
Right.
Part. They're not going to run off with the Nas J part, Black Thought part of it.
The catch is they won't. You're right. They won't.
Invent.
Just like in the beginning, they didn't run off with necessarily the best of what we were doing. They ran off with the parts that they enjoyed the most. Right? Now, I will say this though,
it's probably easier to duplicate.
Exactly. When their artists got hold to it, they stretched that shit out. We can't act like white artists didn't stretch rock and roll to some other shit, prog rock. You see what I'm saying? Like when white artists got hold to it, they stretched that shit out. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like they can run off with the simplest, they can run off with this. You see what I'm saying? With the simplest part, and when white artists get a hold to it, they're gonna stretch that bitch out because they artists. They got soul. They artists. You see what I'm saying? They're gonna stretch that bitch out. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know that really helped, but that's what we said before. It's up to the artists to maintain their integrity and bring it back to the culture, not run off with it.
Right.
Not posty, not do what a post did, not run off with it.
Like, so that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how do you view today, right? In current time, how do you view Post Malone? I'm going to tell you, and then I'll share how I see him.
I'm going to tell you what, the music is fire.
Yeah.
So I can't front and act like the music ain't fire.
Mm-hmm.
Do I respect him? No. Am I interested in him? No. Do I follow him? No. Do I ever go back and listen to him? No. Is you see what I'm saying? Huh?
That's because you got smoke with him? Nah, I just talk.
Nah, I don't got smoke with him. Like I said, his music is fire. Like when the album came out and it was fire, I told motherfuckers, yeah, that shit fire.
Yeah.
Do I care anything about him or what he has to say or what his songs are about or nothing?
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see him as super disconnected and something that is not, because you can transcend culture and still be in and of the culture.
Drake has transcended culture and is still in and of the culture.
And I feel like Kendrick has, not to the degree Drake, but Kendrick has transcended.
In a Prince, Andre 3000 type way.
Right. But he's still heavily embedded and active in this culture.
For sure.
It's almost like
even Kanye is on that list.
Even Kanye, right. With Post, I feel like he was in it for a moment to get the catalyst, you know what I mean? It's like a springboard to get everything jumped off. And then he shot out of it. And now he's looking from the outside in, and he it seems like he don't want anything to do with it. I'm just saying the way he presents himself.
Exactly.
And the way he postures is like he's just super not of this.
He reminds me a lot of Miley Cyrus.
Well, that's very bad. That's terrible. I agree with you, but I'm saying if someone reminds you of Miley Cyrus, it's terrible, because I understand exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, because some people would say it's Justin Timberlake-ish, but it's less Justin.
It's less Justin.
Because Justin came from white America.
Right.
He came from NSYNC. We accepted him. You understand? We accepted him. He came from NSYNC. We accepted him. You see what I'm saying? The fact that he wanted to go do white music after he came from white music, I don't understand what the fucking problem is. He came from white music.
Yeah. So I absolutely understand that.
Miley Cyrus came from white music, completely switched her shit. You see what I'm saying? But she went hard, like hip hop. You know what I'm saying? All this like. But she'll dabble back into hip hop and come get a feature when she needed to and be out. You know what I mean? But she also came from white music. Posty came from black music. You see what I'm saying? And completely but
ain't been back since.
Ain't been back since. But the Miley part is he'll dabble with the features, and you see what I'm saying? Like come get the baby, and you know what I'm saying, do his little thing.
He was also a superstar now.
But I'm pretty sure if you go get a song with Posty, that'll make you a superstar.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So we using him too. I don't know, man. But yeah, that if it gets taken and they stretch it out, then yes, I can see how it could be. I see how they could do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I see how they could do it, and then they stretch it into things that we don't even fit into it no more. Just like they did rock, we just didn't fit into it anymore. One thing is that does make it difficult though. I was having a conversation with my man Black, and I bring his name up here on here a lot because I told you we be having some deep conversations, and this is kind of to your point. Outside of the artists getting and them stretching it out, to your point, excuse me, it's very similar to, I don't know if you watched First Take with Stephen A. Jackson, and then other, you know, he used to be on with Skip Bayless and shit. And then Skip Bayless left, and now Skip Bayless is on with Shannon Sharpe, right?
I think I'm
right.
Ahead.
So, in my opinion, Shannon Sharpe is doing what he thinks Stephen A. Smith is doing.
Right.
Stephen A. Smith is a journalist. He understands words. He understands. You see what I'm saying? He what you mean? So he knows he's a writer. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing this forever. He knows how to articulate. He knows how to use his. He's ranting on purpose. You see what I'm saying? He knows what he's doing. He's being exasperated. He's doing all of that on purpose, and then he can bring it right back to being calm. It's a shtick, you know. But it's also backed by knowledge. And ability and skill that he's honed over the years. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
On the other side, Shannon only sees the exasperation, the rant, the loud talk, the being opinionated. So he's doing what he thinks Stephen A. is doing. So it comes off as buffoonish and annoying a lot of times. Even though he knows what he's talking about because he played the sport and he's not a dumb guy, he's a smart guy. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But it doesn't come off the same way because he's doing what he thinks this other man is doing.
Right.
That'll be the problem. If they try to do what they think the coach is doing.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If they try to recreate what and that's what Jake Paul is doing. They trying, but see, he's doing what we think we doing. But the problem is, bro, that split between artists and attention seekers. If the public will accept attention seekers, he's not doing what he thinks the artist is doing. He's doing what he thinks the attention seeker's doing. And that he's actually getting it right.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? That's our problem right there. That's our problem. Like, the further we get away from the art, the closer we get away from the closer we get to losing hip hop. Period.
Right.
And then a hip hop artist getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is going to be absolutely insane. It ain't gonna make sense. That won't make sense. That, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now that's crazy. So now I don't know if there is a definite solution, but what would you say if there is to cut in between the artist and the attention seeker?
Oh man, God knows, bruh.
That's right.
It froze. Yeah.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I don't know. The only thing we could do is this sounds hokey as hell, right? This sounds super hokey. But the only thing we can actually do is try to reach the youth and school them on artistry. You know what I mean? Like the only thing we're gonna be able to do is try to reach the youth and school them on artistry, and
Yeah.
man, and like, but how do you? Because you can school them on artistry all you want, but you cannot remove the desire for attention.
Yeah.
Especially when they see kids. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Unless they understand that the optimization of their artistry will bring attention, because everybody will be drawn to something that's great, something that's talented, something that's good. LeBron got, like, the reason why LeBron got the eyes of everyone, because he's fucking nice at what he do.
Yeah, you're right. Now you're right. You're right. But we talking about convincing a kid.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you can go pro and be a legend if you stay in school and work on your jumper a little more, or you can go in the first round and get a gang of money. You might not play for 2 years. That motherfucker gone.
Yeah. Gone.
You see what I'm saying? That motherfucker gone.
Ain't no remedy on that.
That's what, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, now what you can do though, is be on the lookout for the kids that have a keen sense for artistry. Don't try to convince the ones that might. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, cause if you don't try to convince them. Like, don't not school nobody if they come your way. You see what I'm saying? Like, give them the healthy advice and be like, yo, bro, like you said, like, work on your jump a little longer, family. You know what I'm saying? And I guarantee it's gonna get you where you want. But don't go out there filing niggas just to get in the game. Don't be him. You see what I'm saying? Like, don't do that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I say maybe you keep an eye out for the ones that show an interest in actual, like, artistry, and push those people. Like, push them. Every time you see one, find him a situation where he can get pushed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, cause you know they rare.
Mm-hmm.
And if you leave them out there long enough, what might happen is the attention get hold to them.
Right.
Because, you know, you spin your wheels long enough, you don't make it, and you see these other attention-seeking niggas making it. You like, shit, I gotta try something. Next thing you know, you dumbing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 cuts in your eyebrow, trying to wild out. You out here bugging. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. So I don't know, man. I guess that's the catch. Is like finding artists and making and supporting their artistry. So hopefully what we doing is doing our part as caretakers of the culture to add more artists to the culture. We might not can't sign them and shit, but we can encourage them, and if we got an extra bucket or two, giving them some studio time, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You know.
Is there any true A&R department anywhere anymore?
I'd say yeah, man. I'd say yes. Okay. Now, what I will say is, if they're at a major label, that it's very likely that they're somewhat hamstrung by analytics.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Somebody like even Wayno, he's a I think he's at Epic. He's either at Epic or Sony. I think he's at Epic, right? Even when he was on Everyday Struggle, he spoke about, you know, they asked him, you know, how did he look for artists and everything. He was like, you know, he looks for ones with talent, you know, and you know what I'm saying, that drive and the things that used to matter, you know. But he said, but you can't not look at the numbers. You can't not look as if see if they have a following online. Like, right, all of that shit matters.
Right, and I forgot who was saying that, but that is literally part of what labels are looking for now, is your online following. Yeah. Like, I forgot who that was. Makes sense, but that's because the money is surrounding around analytics. You have to have a certain amount of followers to start getting, you know, ads, endorsements, stuff like that. So, yeah.
I mean,
and that's the that's good and bad. I feel like any of it can be good. All things can be good if it's done with integrity.
If you exactly, if it's done with integrity. If I show up and I got all these numbers and your integrity makes it so that we end up into a fair agreement, right? Based on the attention I already got for myself. But if I come here and you pluck me out because you see I got this attention, you understand that I don't know enough about this attention to capitalize on it the way I should, so you sign me to a contract that's less beneficial for me. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what's happening. So,
True.
It ain't really being done with integrity. But what's really happening, though, is that you're doing half of the job for them. If you show up to the offices and you got good numbers already, all they got to do is look at your numbers, and from there on, they know exactly where to put more dollars.
Exactly.
When before, it was their job to find talent and build the audience for the talent. Build up the talent to a position where it's viable to offer to an audience. You understand what I'm saying? And then build the audience up along with the talent. Which in that time, it actually makes more sense for them to reap some more of the benefits that they were reaping at the time.
Yeah.
But nowadays, if I already got an audience and all you're going to do is increase the audience I got, I'm showing you who they are.
Right.
You got the money and the staff to do it. Why is that so hard for you?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Why do you give me the money? Hell, give me the money and the staff. I'll do it myself.
Yeah. True.
But I don't know. I don't know how far off the track we got with that one right there.
No, it's good. We always on track, even when we off track.
I think so too, bro.
So let me just ask you this, and this is just because, just for title's sake of the show,
okay,
hip hop, and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So maybe I want to make sure my list is correct, because I think you said a name that wasn't on the. I might have an old list, but I want to just get your take on the artists that are actually in the Hall of Fame. And from this list, which is Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, NWA, and Tupac. Now, is there somebody that you said that earlier that I didn't just say?
Missy's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay, all right. That's cool. I don't consider her necessarily a hardcore rapper.
Right. But Songwriters Hall of Fame, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Jay-Z's probably in the Songwriter Hall of Fame too.
He should be.
I'm almost certain he probably is.
Yeah. So Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5.
Yeah.
Just throw them out. Just see what you feel.
I mean, that's one of them things that's pretty obvious. I think Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5 being on there is pretty obvious, right?
Right. Super obvious.
I think if they're on there, then Kool Herc should be on there. Is Melly Mel on there?
It doesn't say Melly Mel, but I assume that he was going to be encompassed with the
Furious 5. I get it, but Tina Turner's in there twice.
Right. And I understand. I know where you're going.
You see what I'm saying? Like I said, like I get it. But Melly Mel's name
needs to be
in there, just like Grandmaster Flash's name need to be in there. You know what I'm saying?
Message.
Right.
I mean, the stuff too, but the message, I'm gonna just say that for me personally, the message.
Exactly.
Right? His verse on the message. I don't foresee if he didn't come with that type of flow. Right. I don't foresee a Kool G Rap, a Rakim, or a Nas coming.
Not even. I don't see it. I don't see it.
You're like, yeah, he's going crazy.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Put this together.
Yep. I'm
painting this
gonna
picture.
tell you somebody else from that era that I think need to be in there. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think Sugar Hill Gang needs to be in. Right?
Mhm.
But I do think Sylvia Robinson should.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? The woman that created Sugar Hill Records
Right.
and,
Right. Right.
and everything that she brought to hip hop. She
Yeah.
pretty much she was Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin before Russell. She was the first Russell and Rick.
The first Russell and Rick, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we mentioned her on our other episode. If you have not heard it, go listen to it. Unsung, I think, heroes in hip hop.
Ah, nice,
Yeah.
dope.
Absolutely. She's the OG, man.
She's OG. Yeah. So I think like okay. So that kind of when you said that name, those names popped into my head alongside it. Not to take anything from that, but I would like to see Kool Herc, Melly Mel, Sylvia Robinson alongside Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five from that era.
Right.
Yeah.
Run DMC.
You could say Run DMC, Beastie Boys, and Public Enemy
All
together.
Listen, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, you can say them together, and you put Russell and Rick.
Russell and Rick. Yep.
Yeah, in there, right? That's a 5-unit and LL. Boom.
Right. That is funny. It's funny that so many of theirs are in here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
influence is crazy.
Def Jam, it for an era, Def Jam was hip hop for a long time.
Long time.
Long time. And they hit a resurgence like at the perfect time, which extended the Def Jam run into a whole new era. They weren't supposed to be around through the 2000s, bro.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be here now. The fact that they're not doing good now is like, finally.
Like, yeah. Right. When we're damn near on the verge of a whole new genre emerging.
Right. Like, if to talk about Def Jam not doing well now in a disrespectful way is almost idiotic when you realize how long they've been here and how long it's like.
Right. It don't
Look at what's come and gone. When Def Jam started, there was a big 7, if I'm not mistaken. There's only 3.
Yeah. Woo.
Bad Boy is barely here. Rockefeller gone. Cash Money barely here. No Limit gone. Cold Chillin' from his very era gone. Loud gone. You know what I mean? Like how many of them came and went? Death Row. Did I say Death Row?
Nah.
Gone.
But yeah, Death Row, another good example. Yeah. When it was like with the new link, when I clicked it, it said guest session ended. I'm like, what? This is a new link?
Yeah, that shit crazy. Ain't no telling with this damn thing. I can't remember what the last thing I said was.
We talked about Def Jam, Rick Rubin, coming to an end.
Oh, I know what I said. I said Def Jam should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay, are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Def Jam. Yeah,
hold on, let me say it because you saying are we recording is in there. Yeah, Def Jam should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Period.
Absolutely. I think that goes without question.
Yeah, but shit. Do they labels in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Now that I don't know.
Name another one. Name somebody else, and I'm gonna look that up while you do that. I'm talking about off the list. Yeah.
Oh, off the list. We only got 2 more. So okay. NWA.
Okay. Man, yeah, of course. And the funny thing is I think NWA is just like Shaka Khan and Tina Turner. They have 3 members that could be entered into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by themselves. Right. Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, and Ice Cube.
For sure.
I think could be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alone.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Tupac.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yo, but yeah, go ahead.
I don't understand how Tupac is in there and Biggie ain't.
That is what
Well, I do understand how Tupac is in there and Biggie ain't.
helped me to understand, please.
Uh,
I do not at all.
Tupac is far more popular than Biggie Smalls ever was.
Okay, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tupac is the Elvis of hip hop.
Okay. Some diehard Tupac fans may take that as a semi-slight, but I understand what you're saying.
I'm talking about how the whites see him.
Got you.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm talking about how the whites see him. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about how we see him.
I got you. He's definitely way more highly venerated
Yeah.
in this circle than Big is.
Then you talk about the lore of Mike have faking his death and getting, you see what I'm saying? Like that stuff. I'm talking about like the.
Right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like that's the stuff I'm talking about.
He stayed in the news. He stayed with something going on.
Right. So that's how somebody like Tupac gets in when you get to that era and start letting people in and Biggie not be in there.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, so I get it. I get it. Now, if we just talking hip hop, okay, this might be a wild way to put it. Devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what we know rock and roll is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And for what it is to be a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
And to get it now put one of those people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and not the other one.
You live more of a rock and roll lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be Tupac. Tupac is you see what I'm saying? Like by the standards of what we just put in your head of what rock and roll is.
Yeah.
And you put Tupac and Biggie beside each other and say put one of them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's gonna be Tupac.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So I can understand. Do I agree? Like, is that what I would choose? Not necessarily. But do I agree? Do I understand it wholeheartedly? Absolutely. It makes total sense. Makes total sense. So I don't know. So we talked about Big and we know that's a given. So we gonna go and say that. Like let's do a quick let's do our own Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Nas.
I knew that was gonna be the first name you said. I knew for a fact that would be the first. I could have bet $1 million on that, and it'd been like playing a lot, like cheating on the lotto. Actually, it wouldn't have been like playing; it'd be like cheating on the lotto. Nas, obviously. Let's devil's advocate this though. From the Pop Big conversation.
Yeah.
With like from that perspective.
If we're looking at it I said we won't get many if we're looking for those who lived or personified the rock and roll lifestyle that we have in our head.
As much as Pop, yeah, that's a non-starter. Okay, right. So let's compare him to the people that did get in.
He probably would be the biggest rock star in hip hop. You know what I mean? When you talk about lifestyle wise, you know, easy.
So okay, compared to the other people that got on the list though, like they got in. Like your Grandmaster Flash, Public Enemy, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, like that caliber artist.
Yeah. So definitely, in that vein, definitely then a Nas.
Okay.
I actually feel like, Rakim and Kool G would be in there.
Okay. I could see Rakim and Big Daddy Kane. I can't see Kool G Rap making it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I cannot see. I would like for him to be there.
Oh yeah, personally I can see it.
But
you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I get you. But yeah, definitely I was gonna say Big Daddy Kane for sure.
Yeah, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane. Yeah, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane,
Does
Nas.
Bada
Huh?
make does
Who?
African Bambaataa make it in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't know how he doesn't make. I don't understand the world without Africa Bambaataa. You,
Yeah.
there isn't a world of hip hop without Africa Bambaataa.
I get it. Yeah, I get
I
it.
guess that's the way I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get
you
it.
know,
I got one.
go ahead, cause I got one too.
Mobb Deep.
Wow, Mobb Deep won't make it in.
Really?
I don't think they would. I don't think they would.
I don't know how. Because you got to think about it. Okay, go ahead. Well, I'm interested to hear how they wouldn't make it in.
Cause the name. Okay, I'm gonna say a name that probably
Okay.
is gonna go in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's a hip hop artist, and then
All right.
and then you compare that to the name that you just said,
Mm-hmm.
Snoop Doggy Dogg. He's going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for sure. Huh?
I said Snoop is definitely in there easy.
Easy. But do you understand like the
I get.
you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like Mobb Deep, I know what they mean to hip hop culture.
Right. I get what you're saying.
But
Mhm.
you gotta be a
Um,
certain level of star to get
Star.
into
Yeah, I get you.
you see what I'm saying? To
Right.
get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So Snoop is going in. Eminem is going in.
Eminem's going in.
You know.
Um,
I'm starting to see a pattern. There's gonna be trees of people that go in. You understand what I'm saying?
what do you
Like
mean?
you're gonna be able to put it.
Oh, group them together.
Yeah, like from the Def Jam camp, you're gonna be able to see these
Right,
things go in.
right.
From the NWA camp, you're gonna be able to see these people go in. From the
Right.
you see what I'm saying? Like
For each of these
absolutely.
things.
Eminem is coming from the NWA camp. Snoop is coming from the NWA camp.
Yeah.
You see
Because
what
I
I'm
was
saying?
going to say Snoop is like an extended member of NWA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I get what you get.
Yeah, so that kind of thing. That's what I see happening.
Okay. Wu-Tang.
Automatic. Automatic.
And they one group that did. I think they lived the rock and roll lifestyle.
Automatic. Wu-Tang is going in.
And I will say this: I don't care who your favorite one of them is, but there is one that would. You know how we talked about the group, and then like Melly Mel should go in by herself. There is one that belong in there by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely one that belongs in there by itself.
ODB.
You think?
Absolutely.
I would say I get it. Rockstar wise, Rockstar life
Right.
wise.
That's
Yes,
what I'm saying.
yes.
Rockstar wise, and he had huge. Like I even slept on how big of a star.
Yeah, he was a
ODB
huge star.
became.
He was a huge star.
Even with Old Dirty, Baby I Got Your Money, that Shimmy Shimmy Y'all, he was a true life rock star, and he had the numbers and the hits to back it.
I could see how it might be a dark horse getting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you think about Mariah, he did some stuff. He was
Yeah.
out of here.
He was out of here. I see what you're saying.
Bigger than anybody else. But go ahead. I think I know who you was going to say.
Yeah,
though.
RZA.
RZA.
If it's gonna be because of the work he put in, like
To the films.
yeah, and then being the sole producer for so much of it, like just
Right.
you know what I mean. So I think work wise, if
Work,
anybody deserved to be in there outside of the crew, you see what I'm saying? It would be RZA.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I said, outside of the crew, I don't think RZA is a big enough name or star to get in alone.
Yeah, nah,
You
it
know,
isn't.
damn. I think one day Drake will probably get in.
Oh, Drake is what?
Yeah, I think one day Drake will get
and
in.
Kendrick.
You think Kendrick
Drake-
will get in?
I-
Yeah, Kendrick
yeah.
will get in. He want to pull a surprise.
J. Cole is not getting in ever.
Yeah, J. Cole is probably not gonna get in. He probably won't get in. He
Yeah.
probably won't get in. What? No, I mean I don't.
We ain't never gonna get on the Dreamville, man.
I love him. I love J. Cole, but
Yeah.
we just
I know.
talking about, you know what I'm saying, like the type of
Straight up.
person and the type of star they looking at. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he ain't trying to do that shit. Like he don't care nothing about that. You know?
Yeah.
Drake is.
Drake is.
Yeah, he cares. Kanye, what you think?
Kanye easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, Kanye got to get in.
Black skinhead, he's getting in.
Yeah, he getting in. Yeah.
Just because of who he is. The same thing like kind of with the RZA. The only difference is Kanye name is his name is big enough.
This
He's a
motherfucker,
big
yeah.
enough star.
Yeah, he's a
big enough impact.
superstar.
Superstar, absolutely.
Yeah,
So he's in.
He's definitely gonna get in. Yeah. That's quite a few names.
I think that's pretty good. Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Who's the biggest star, Kanye or Hov?
Wow. Kanye.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody say anything different is insane.
He's a liar. They biased. They don't understand the definition of star. We ain't talking about who you like more. We're talking about who's a bigger star. Kanye.
Right. Yeah. And which reminds me, in our outtakes when we done, I got two things to bring up to you.
Okay.
One of them includes Jay.
All right. We'll make sure not to. I won't let you forget him.
So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's a pretty good starter list.
Yeah.
For candidates or people that we think that should get in.
Yeah, I think I can see that. I can't. Yeah, that's. Don't nobody else just pop into mind straight off hip hop, other than the people we name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's gonna be hard for Nas to get in.
Yeah, that's true too. I rethought that, and I think it will be, but I think he will. If Jay can squeeze in, I think Nas is going to eventually get in.
Yeah. Yeah, if Jay can squeeze in and they can get Biggie in there, I think we can get Nas in there. Because I don't think it makes sense to have.
I think should be in either one of them, Jay or Nas.
Yeah, definitely. I don't understand. I think it makes sense if Jay-Z and Tupac are in, that it makes sense for Biggie and Nas to be in.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Because during that time period, those were the four guys.
Right.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They were the four guys. And if you want to keep it real with it, like, in all honesty, Tupac was only one of the guys for a small period of time.
That's true.
Very, 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 very small period of time where he was the guy.
Right. Yeah, he's, I don't even want to say it like that.
95 to 97. Tops. Yeah. 94, baby.
Yeah.
94, 95 to 97. And then, shit, he wasn't even alive in 97, was he? Hell no.
He dropped albums in 96. Did he get killed in 96 and then big 96. In 97?
Yeah, 96. Okay. So but we can extend his run through 97 though, because the music came out.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But
yeah. Man, that's interesting when you look, right? Nas 94, Big 95, Jay 96, and I'm dealing with their first solo project.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
Yep. And I think Pac first solo project was 93.
With Tupacalypse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah. 93, 94, 95, 96.
Yeah. That's ill.
Real ill. Yeah. That's crazy. We got to talk about that era right there.
We do.
That was some wild shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just that era might need to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was a wild era. Damn, yo. So what you think, man? You think we did enough on this one?
Yeah, man. I think we got it covered.
I think so. I mean, this did what the conversation was supposed to do, though. Like,
yeah,
it had the beginning, the middle, and the end. Like, we got our gripes out in the beginning. Like, we was get off our lawn, you know what I'm saying, in the beginning. Then we got to ranting about protecting our culture. You know what I mean? Then we gave our predictions.
Right, right. Yeah, I think It's good. This is a good wholesome show.
Good wholesome show. Yeah, I think so, bro. But shoot, if that's the case, man, I'm gonna ask people to follow us at Conversate for a Few on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're on Facebook, be sure to join the Conversate for a Few Extended Conversation podcast group. Right? Go to YouTube and subscribe to Conversate for a Few, and make sure you ring the subscription bell so you know when the show drops every week. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Anchor. And make sure to subscribe to Conversate for a Few. Rate the show, give us 5 stars, share the show with your friends, because that's the only way they're going to know who he is, if you let them know. Leave a comment and let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought of the show. If you think we left anybody out, or if we added anybody to the list ain't had no business being on there, let us know. Stay tuned for the limited edition Futane Clan merch. I promise it's coming. And I don't break promises. As long as it come eventually, I ain't lie. So fine, and we gonna get. And I seen your co-authored book online. Yeah, I saw that joint. Congratulations, bro. Yeah, I got my cover back for my book this week, so she coming soon. Yeah, so she coming soon. So now we got to get started.
Yeah,
it's really trying to get started on our co-authored book, the Conversate for a Few notebook.
Yeah,
right.
It's
gonna be ill. So with that being said, man, I'm Jonna.
I'm Alan. This is not a podcast about classical music.
Absolutely was not. This is a podcast about hip hop. Make room for the tag.
Conversate for a few.
Hustle. Welcome, man, they had to send me. Hustle from Raleigh, live from NC with your hosts, John and Alan. Relate to the two. You are now listening to Conversate for a Few. Check it on SoundCloud, debate with your crew. They talking hip-hop from the late to the new. From July till June end. No Fridays for me. Tune in. Please listen to this podcast. 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 Please listen to this podcast.